That's the problem. We see both sides to a lot of things.
Technology has changed so visually as well.
So my job was created via technology, and it like
I think it's making a comeback.
Well, if you look at like LG
I think like today.
and
Hi, everybody.
hi, welcome back.
Welcome back to Chasing Me Podcast.
Yeah, we are back again, and we are very excited about. Well, I'm excited about this episode.
I'm so excited,
and because we are talking about technology and how it's changed over our 30 years. It has actually been pretty much a whirlwind. I feel like I can still never catch up with how technology changes every single day, and constantly there's something new. Businesses are innovating. People are using technology in so many different ways. And yeah, so we're a little inspired by, you know, where we've been as we kind of go through this like 30 series that we're doing, where we've been and how we utilize it today. So yeah. And I know Alex loves technology. She's the tech like whiz, I feel like, kind of.
Not yeah. I'm tech efficient or fluent, but not fluent. I'm efficient in it.
You would be considered not an early adapter, but like you're like right after them.
I would hope. I'm trying to be an early adapter.
I'm more like when I have to use it, or if it makes me more efficient. When I realize I'm like, well, that would kind of make me more efficient. I use it. I give in. It's more of like I give in than a like, let's go look at this new technology.
I feel like because like you said, right, it changes so quickly, it's hard to always know what to look at or what sources are always like reputable to like follow, and who's going to give you the best, I would say, mainstream way of telling you what's new, because a lot of it is very jargon language and I don't have the knowledge in that. I'm sure I could sit down and try and learn it, but it is very, it's very complicated language in my mind, and in my opinion, a few things.
I mean, understanding how anything works is just, I think, hard when it comes to technology. So, like, I honestly, if you ask me how Wi-Fi works, I'm like, I have no idea.
How it works?
Yeah. Like, how can I call, well, like, Wi-Fi or just cells? Like, how can I call you when you're over in Europe? How, like...
The satellites?
Yeah, but what? It just doesn't. It just don't. Let's not go there.
It's fine.
Let's not go there.
We want to start with. We want to start with how exactly has it changed, right? We are looking to the past and then going to bring it to the present. So we're going to go through a few different topics as like the main categories that we have found in our lives that has changed the most. Yes. I think we can start with.
I would have to say the internet.
Internet?
Like,
okay.
Yeah. The internet, well, you have, because without the internet, a lot of things wouldn't have come about. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
I think that's the biggest one. So we grew up we grew up without the internet. Like we are, which is crazy to think about because. Well,
I think technically, actually, because we looked it up, right?
Oh yeah.
We grew up with the internet, but not in our homes. It wasn't
in our homes, yeah. So I think a fish, and again, but this is technology. I didn't know this answer, so what do? I Googled it, and it's like the internet was technically invented in like 83, so 1983. We didn't get into our home until probably like the mid 90s, I would say.
Yes.
Or honestly, for us, it was probably like late 90s.
Late 90s to 2000s, I would say.
We had one computer. It was like the big blocked computer with the big old monitor. It wasn't flat screen monitors. It had this like big old nub on the back. And
you could hear it working.
It was churning. And you had dial-up internet. So like there wasn't... Honestly, I was only going on it to play games. Yes. Which was like Snake. I paint.
AIM.
Did you use Paint?
Of course, AIM. Right?
I barely used Instant Messenger. Like,
really?
I did a little bit, but I think I was more into like Facebook messaging. To recap real quick, so like I remember specifically like dial-up internet was a thing where my mom ran her interior design business out of her house. I remember having to ask my mom, can I get on the computer? And she's like, no, honey, I'm waiting for an important phone call. Like, you'll have to wait until I have the call, because the internet itself took up the landline, which who has landlines anymore with the cord and the the rotor phones. I loved
didn't-
our little
I
rotor
didn't
dial
have
phone.
that.
Oh,
I had the
we had one in our garage, and I would go out and just call. I remember always wanting to call my grandma. I was like, I'd call her on our little rotor dial, and it would like click back, and you'd click it over, and then the number would go back, and then you click it over again. I love that phone. I'm such a tactile person, and I think that's why I feel so old. Like, I feel old when I talk about technology, because I love the tactileness of things.
I mean, I feel like it was the same, except no tactile phone. I had like the actual like phone that you pick up. And,
Cordless?
yeah, cordless.
See?
Yeah.
Always so much more advanced than I am.
That was my family. We had like a lot of the more advanced technology, and that I think it was my dad. He loved the new. But yeah, so then after that came the Razor, or maybe a flip phone, maybe.
Well, so we were talking about computers.
Oh, sorry.
And then I
felt like we were talking about phones, but maybe that was
well,
mine.
I guess we were talking about phones technically, but like there's a difference between a landline and like a mobile phone. Like,
yes.
Cell phones didn't exist when I was growing up either. Again, look this up. Technically, they were created in 1973, which blew my mind. I didn't know this. Mm-hmm. I thought they were more like, again, late 80s, maybe mid 90s, same thing. But do you remember when you got your first cell phone?
I got my first cell phone freshman year of high school.
And what was it?
A pink Razor.
She had a Razor. I was never cool enough to get a Razor. It was a flip. It was really thin, and you had T9. You didn't have a full keyboard. You had to click the same button 3 times, and it like.
I think it's making a comeback.
Well, if you look at like LG
I think like today.
and if you're talking about like cell phones that are created today, they're doing like the flip ones with the screen. What? But you're saying people are digging up their old Razors and reactivating them?
It's either that or they're creating a very similar version of the pink Razor.
I love this.
I'm pretty positive.
Should Erica dig out an old phone and like I want to go back to like tactileness.
What? Do you still have
the
your
buttons?
phone?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I actually still have some of my old screen phones.
Did you see that the first Apple phone, first generation, sold like on eBay?
Yeah. Like, but how much was it?
I think it was like 100,000
or
something like that. Like, it was a lot of money.
Was it packaged still?
I don't know.
I feel like that's a collector's thing. You know what I mean? Like when you do collector's items, like they're in the original packaging. They haven't been opened. It's not touched. But if this is just like
talking about like the first phones, like I remember I kept mine for a long time. Yeah. My very first Apple phone. I don't know what had happened to it now, but I like keeping my old phones too.
So yeah, cell phones were just kind of come out during that time. I didn't have a touch screen until probably college.
Yeah, I think my first iPhone was still in high school.
I had an iPod.
I did have an iPod too. I had all the things. I had an iPad when it first came out.
Oh, nice. I still had a bright orange iPod. I absolutely loved that thing.
Technology has changed so visually as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like how I feel like we've went from something so small to now you look at the iPhones and they're just so big.
They're massive.
And in my mind, that is not great because I actually really prefer it being smaller, but at the same time, like we wouldn't be able to do this podcast video wise if we didn't have the current phone because of how great of a quality you get now on your phones, and you can like do all these artistic things just from your phone and mobile, which is so amazing when you're such a creative, like for different creative industries. So I think that there are positives with the new change visually as well as, just technology in general. But yeah, that's so interesting to me.
If you think about it though, what phones have done, or the phones that we have now, speaking about an iPhone, is like it took what we used to have, which was like the phone, the iPod, camera, because we had digital cameras.
Yes.
We had iPods. So like you had something that you texted and called with, you had your device that you listened to music with, and then you had your device that you took photos with. And then even the cameras, we were talking a second ago where it's like you had to take the SD card out of your digital camera, put it into your computer, upload the photos, and then you could post it to Facebook.
Yeah.
That's like, it was like a 4-step process.
I mean, if we take a step back when it just comes to music, we had to burn music off of...
burnt CDs.
But yeah. Or did you ever digitally download music off of like LimeWire?
Yes. Don't come after me, government. But I definitely, when I was younger.
And then I'm pretty positive I still think I have like songs on my like Apple Music or something, because like it's yours, right? So, and in the middle of the song, it's like blah 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 LimeWire.
It's like a copy. It's like copyright, like blank text, and then it's like that's what you just like. It is what it is. Everybody does it.
Dude, you're like jamming out, and then all of a sudden it's like LimeWire, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, okay.
It's like a copyright thing or something. They just wanted to.
It's like getting an ad in Spotify now.
Old versions of ads is like burnt coffee CD copyright text or voiceovers. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I think we talked about cars in a previous episode, but like I still have my burnt CDs in my current vehicle or some of them, because I still have a CD slot in my car. I have an '06, so like my car is older.
I also have a CD slot. I don't use it, but I have it.
Yeah. So I like last Christmas I found my old Shania Twain CD and I brought it back and I like put it in my car, and I've been listening to it ever since. And I absolutely love that. But if you also think about vehicles and like GPS, like I think about GPS as a thing. Again, '06. I have my '06 Mini. It doesn't have GPS in it, but I had a Garmin. I got a Garmin when I went to college. That was like a gift of mine, where I think at that point it was like $120, $150 for this little Garmin that you had to put in the addresses to get to and from. And you, like you do your phones now, you like suction cupped it to the windshield and you just clicked it in.
But I think you need to explain for the people that are younger watching, what is this Garmin that you're talking about?
Before Google Maps, before Garmin's, before anything, you talked about it too. It's like when you would go on a trip in your vehicle.
Wait, you have to tell them what Garmin is.
No, Garmin's a GPS system.
Okay, that's what I needed you to explain.
I was like, it's a GPS. I'm like, who doesn't know that?
For the people that are younger.
Yes, no, but I feel like the people that are younger won't understand the need to print out directions to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. When you got that first computer in your house, you're like, oh, let's just, instead of like getting an atlas and mapping out your directions in this like beautiful atlas. My dad still loves his
atlases are maps.
They're books you would put in your cars, young folks. Map books. In car. You don't forget it on trips.
Okay. I just feel like we need to do a little explaining.
That is true. I don't know how young our audience is, but if you are young, yes, atlases were things.
Yes.
They were things. And after atlases, which is funny because my dad still loves a good atlas. Like he doesn't trust a phone.
Really?
No. I was driving once in like Colorado and I was like, I had it like on my phone. I'm like, oh, it will get there by like 1:30, whatever. We were trying to catch our flights. He's like, are you sure? He's like, you're going the wrong way. Are you sure? And I was like, Dad, it's okay. We will get there. Like I have full trust in my Google Maps. Funny. He has no trust at all. God. He wanted to know the day before what the plan was, where we're going.
Like, I don't know. I just need to know in the moment.
But we grew up like, we had to, after we had our first computer, you had something called Maps or MapQuest. MapQuest. You would like put in your route and then you would print out the map directions and bring them with you. Mm-hmm. GPS wasn't a thing. It might have been a thing, but we didn't have it. It wasn't built into your cars yet. You didn't have your phones. So when you think about phones, so internet and then phones have to be like the biggest pieces of technology because they now encompass so many other devices or
it takes
programs and things like that we had to have separate things for previously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It takes away all of your little gadgets. Like you would have a purse for a reason for all the gadgets, and now, I mean, you just need your phone. And you would be fine. You can have your credit cards on your phone now.
See, like, I don't do that.
But you can. Like it's an option, and you have Apple Pay. Like I have one card.
Okay.
Just because it's easy.
Yeah.
I've only used it like once or twice, and it's all through
Yeah.
face recognition. Not sure if it's always the smartest idea. It's like I'm torn by it, but
Yeah, how advanced technology is, like cybersecurity, things
Yeah.
like that. Like I still kind of have my issues with it and how much I trust. We just think about all the data that's out there, and people are trying to scam you every single day,
yeah.
getting your phone, getting your passwords, getting your logins. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to kind of manage, and
Well, I think that the reason why it is a lot is because there's not enough easy access to information on how to protect yourself. I would say, like, I think you have to do a lot of research, and then you have to trust those resources and trust the other. I don't know, like trust the fact that this company that says it's going to protect you will actually protect you. So,
oh yeah, it's like I know at like work we use like LastPass,
Yeah.
which is like the big one that
I've used it before.
a lot of people use. And then it was just funny. It's like, oh yeah, LastPass had a breach of something. I'm like, weren't they supposed to be like the most secure, like 3 steps of authentication? Or like, whatever. I was like, oh great, here we go. It's just, I don't know if that was a true story, but I feel like that's always what it seems like happens. It's like this source, and then you just make yourself a target for anybody who's like, oh, I'm gonna go break their code or whatever, infiltrate them.
It's true, but hopefully with new technology, technology advancing more, hopefully we can mitigate that, and maybe there will be more people trying to just shed some light into like how you can verify yourself information, because like that's always what's hard. It's like there are websites that will have verified prompts on it, but like you can always make that up as well. Like it's these technologies that we need to, I think, invest more in on the understanding of empowering people to verify information and valid facts for themselves. Similar to, the whole AI verifying correct information through AI sources and things like that is like a big topic of conversation right now too. So I think that regardless, there's a lot of hope in my mind that we will go more towards that path of like companies being more on that track.
We do have a whole episode planned for AI specifically, but I have one question. Isn't AI, though, it gets all of its source and information from the internet?
Yes.
So, like, there's so much false stuff on the internet. Like, how does it know it's true? How does it know it's real? Like, truth is if you ask anybody nowadays, there's a lot of different truths to a lot of things, and it's all opinions. There's a lot of facts out in the world. There are things that are fact that people just love. I don't know why love to fight for. That's not true, but there are facts out in the world. And then there's a lot of things that are just opinions, and it's at what point do you feed some AI knows what to feed people? I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. But
to your point, I think that
me.
there, like you said, there are different versions of truths, and I could go into a whole different topic of conversation around like schools and schooling systems, and like that's like tactile stuff, and like the truths that people learn there, and how it changes from where you're located in the States, and or even in the world, and like what people educate other people on is their version of the truth. But how do you know what's the line of the truth or not? Because so many people are learning so many different things, and that's through books, and that's through something that's not AI. So, I don't think that we need to get into that conversation.
Well, it's just crazy to think that kids nowadays don't, they don't have textbooks. It's all digital.
Is it all though? I don't think that's
pretty much. If I talk to any, let us know in the comments if you have kids in like grade school or junior high or high school, that if they actually still have textbooks, or is it all digital learning where they're going onto computer? It's like, I didn't have I didn't have a laptop until I was in college, but and I remember using computers in high school, but that was about it. we like barely I used them to like type out my essays on Word. Like there was no, and I was like at that point I started to use the internet to like fact check some things or like dates or like for history class to write my reports and stuff. Like I had to go seek the information and then come up with my own words.
Yes.
But like I hear nowadays that it's all digital, like all of the textbooks and everything. And again, tactile. I like a good book.
I can't say for a fact. I think that depending on where you live is probably the major factor, and if they have the resources to provide or for you to own your own laptop, because, right, that comes at its own costs.
Yeah.
So I think that the world's still very divided when it comes to the poverty line and like educational system and things that are actually, resources. So that's turning into a whole different type of conversation. But I think at the end of the day, technology and whether or not facts for AI are true is something that can be versed into like normal textile books and things like that. Like what books that you read and things along those lines as well. Because you could learn, like me and you grew up in different coasts, and our history classes, I'm sure, were very different, but also very similar. And at the end of the day, I think our truths are pretty much on the same line. But if we go back to back, and if we had our textbooks in front of us from where, like when we were at the same grade, like I wonder what those differences would be.
I don't think they would be as different back in those days as you would maybe think. Now they would be, what's taught in schools is very different from where you're at. I don't think there's obviously probably a little bit, but I don't think it was as,
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
As it is maybe today, because how divided I feel like our country is on just kids in schools. There's a lot to go there, which we don't have kids. Guess what? So we don't have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about it.
That is a future Eric and Alex problem.
Yes.
So technology, AI, there's a lot going on there. Anything else about technology that maybe pros and cons of technology? Like what?
Yeah.
So for you, what over your 30 years, what are the pros and cons of how technology has evolved?
So I think some of the pros are definitely within like entertainment. And I know that it can be also a con, because at that point, if you're too entertained, you're not really advancing your mind, and you're not really wanting to put out the effort to research and learn things. But in my mind, the pro to it really comes down to your ability to imagine, right? Your imagination has ever grown so much with technology now, especially with the advances of like today, and like being able to do like text to video or video, image to video, or like things like that. And we're going to go into that in a different episode. But not only that, there's like virtual reality, augmented reality. There's the ability to assist everything in technology within the medical field and within our health, and like the data that we're able to now receive as individuals, like our own independence and understanding the data in our health, and having the ability to look things up and really like learn so much. Like if you wanted to learn about everything, you really could learn about everything.
So access to knowledge I would agree with that. Access to knowledge is definitely a plus of technology. And for you not to know something is really, before, if you didn't know something, it's just because you weren't exposed to it.
Yes.
You're exposed to so much now. So
yes.
It's kind of like, I don't want to say it's your fault, but it's like, it's your own
limitation on your ability to seek out the information on a way that is easily accessible for, I would say, a good majority of the population, because you do have a phone. And a lot of people could say, like, right, they don't have a laptop or they don't have these advances. But, you know, our public libraries, and I'm not one that frequents them, but they offer a lot of resources, especially when it comes to technology and learning it. And it's free.
Yeah. Access to knowledge is definitely a plus. But I also wanted to pick up on the telehealth thing that you talked about. I previously worked at a startup that we serviced home visits. This is pre-COVID. So if we were still around during COVID, we probably would have not have went out of business. But do you use telehealth? Like, I don't use telehealth.
So I've used it once, and I think that it's very, very useful, especially if you are sick and don't have time maybe to go to the doctor, and you just want easy access to more or less get prescribed antibiotics. And that for me was like a sinus infection that I regularly get certain times of the year. And I was able to do it, like, I think at like 8 p.m. And then they like,
so like after hours.
After normal business hours. I didn't have to go to urgent care or anything like that. Like, pay a fee that way. It was very simple. It's one of those things that it's a convenience factor, one. And then two, it's just like amazing that we have that capability now, because we didn't. I don't know when they came out, but like I definitely know in college, I don't think I ever heard anything like this.
Well, our startup was 2015, 2016-ish. Was when I worked for that startup. And that was early. There was only one other company that was trying, and it was Heal, I think was the company, or our competitor.
Okay.
And they were way ahead of us, but we were trying it at a different angle.
Yeah.
I think Heal's still around.
Oh, is it?
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. Good
Crazy.
for you. Anyways.
Crazy.
Yeah, so take technology with what it is. Any other con? You didn't give me a con of technology.
Cons. I think it's going to be what you said, privacy and data security.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's very easy to get sucked into the hole that, like, they're going to take your identity and run with it. You're never going to be able to do anything because they're going to have your social and all your credit cards. But
you do have to make sure you're typing your information into a secure platform. Like, you can't just...
It's true.
Don't click on the ads that are in the browsers. Don't
trust everything.
Don't be a random clicker. Don't click everything. I mentioned a couple episodes ago about the AI and the farming thing, and I'm like, they're just using that they're just going to use that information to position themselves to make bets on futures for grain and commodities. I'm like, that's all the 1% is doing with that AI technology. It's like, they say they're doing it to help the farmer, but they're really using, who knows what they're using that data for. And until AI companies or these companies that, or any company that's collecting data is really transparent about what they use it for, then I'm going to be skeptical. So that's just me. But I think that's a con of technology sometimes, is that it's a tool that helps sometimes the rich just get even richer if you're not aware and you're not careful about why. If you don't question why a technology was created, sometimes I think that's the first step. It goes back, we've said this I think 100 times over the podcast. Sometimes it's like questioning why something exists and why it was created is kind of maybe where you should start. Like, asking why can be the most insightful question you ever ask. Like, why do they act like this? That can help build relationships. Why did this business create this technology? Why did they acquire this other business? Like, what are their future plans? And so I think I tend to be a little skeptical of data and what they're using it for. But I mean, if I was a big business, that's the problem. We see both sides to a lot of things. I see both sides to a lot of things. Alex sees both sides to a lot of things. So you understand and you try to be like, I get it. Do I like it? Probably not, but I understand.
And I use it. So I don't know. I'm like, I'm definitely the both. I'm both. I'm like, no, I love technology. I think it's very expensive to keep up to date with technology,
yeah.
but I do love it and I love knowing about it. And when you're a part of it and getting to interact with new technology, it
can be fun.
it's great.
It can be fun. It really can be fun. But so a pro for me is like, I wouldn't have my job when it didn't exist.
Yes.
I'm in e-commerce.
Yeah.
I'm in e-commerce sales and merchandising. That didn't exist when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. You didn't have shops online. You didn't have, so my job was created via technology.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be employed right now. So thank you, internet.
I remember when I was like in retail and I was like, I need to get out. I need to go into e-commerce. I need to do it. I want to work remotely. Like when remote pre-COVID, working remotely was like new trend, not as trendy, not as like common. And now, you know, because of technology, we are able to work remote. We are able to do all these things and have the convenience factor of just being able to explore more of the world and get to like expand our minds. And now it's on us to push ourselves versus, you know, having a job that really demands a lot, I think, of you being places physically.
But yeah, I think that's my pro. And then obviously the con was the data insecurity. But
yeah,
at a certain point, technology will always be evolving, and you either need to get on board or you're going to get left behind. But you have to understand how it works for you in your life.
Yes.
If you can't afford certain things, don't force yourself just to get it because it's new and it's bright and shiny. That as we talked about in our last financial episode, like it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get you ahead in any way, unless you're doing it for something that's going to make you money. So like say you do want to start a podcast, look at all this technology we have in front of us. We're recording on a phone. Like we're doing those things. So having technology can help you make money. It can, but don't just get it to, like, don't always just go get the new iPhone because it came out like that. Anyways, but pros and cons to technology always. And I hope you enjoyed listening to our journey as 30-year-olds and how we've experienced technology over that years. It has changed dramatically. And I think that's why our generation has such a unique perspective, because we lived before technology really was so prevalent in our lives, and then now we are living through one of the greatest, you know, booms in technology, and just it's how quick it has advanced is amazing. But if you liked what we've talked about or have your own before technology stories, we would love to hear them. Type them out in the comments, and then please subscribe as well. We would love to have you along this journey with us a little longer.
Thanks, guys.
So, thank you. Bye.
Bye.